One of the first modifications many EcoBoost owners make is an aftermarket exhaust system. The factory exhaust leaves a lot to be desired. Adding an aftermarket exhaust is going to free up some weight usually, also free up some horsepower and give you some much better sound. In the case of the 2015 Focus ST, don't expect the owners to be any different because the factory exhaust just has no character whatsoever. It's quiet and it's definitely not a performance exhaust fitting of the Focus ST. Thankfully, all the 13 through 14 exhausts are going to fit the 15, so today we're going to upgrade our 15's exhaust system using this catback from COBB. This COBB catback is almost too beautiful to install on the car. It's made of 304 3-inch stainless steel, featuring CNC mandrel bends and beautiful TIG welds on all the pieces. It has 2 COBB proprietary mufflers, and a set of 4-inch double wall stainless steel tips. Everything needed for installation is included by COBB. While Ford did make some upgrades and changes to the 2015 Focus ST, the exhaust unfortunately wasn't one of them. It has the same bland sound as the 13 through 14. Nothing about that exhaust tone screams performance, but thankfully that's an easy fix. Let's get started with our COBB install. For the exception of using 3 hangers instead of 4, the exhaust on the 15 ST is exactly the same as the 13-14. That means the first step in removing the factory exhaust is going to be to cut it. What you want to do is cut basically right where this curve is, right behind the weld, so you can remove the 2 pieces separately. We're going to remove the rear muffler now from the stock hangers. Carefully fish it over the axle. Here's a close-up shot of the difference with the 15. As you can see, the actual stud is there, but there is no hanger from the factory where this middle pipe would go. We do suggest if you're buying an aftermarket system for your 2015 Focus ST, pick up a set of COBB's polyurethane exhaust hangers at the same time. That'll give you a 4-piece set, which are much better than the factory hangers, and gives you everything you need to properly install the system. You can install with 3 hangers, but it's more likely the system's going to move around and can create problems. With the pipe cut and the rear muffler removed, now we're going to move up front and disconnect the catback from our factory downpipe by removing the 2 nuts on the other side of the pipe right here. The rest of the exhaust is still held in place by a hanger, so now you can remove this brace here, and that'll allow us to get the rest of the system off. It's kind of hard to get the hanger removal tool in here, so a small pry bar will help get this one off. The system off, we're now going to remove all of the factory hangers so we can replace them with our COBB polyurethane hangers. Spray a little lubricant on the stud and slide on the new hangers. The frontmost hanger is a little different than the others. To install this one, basically going to push the hanger straight up and twist it into place. Now we can begin the installation of the actual catback by installing 2 of the supplied bolts through our downpipe. And then choose the correct supplied gasket from COBB. If you have a stock downpipe, you want to use the 2.5-inch gasket. If you have an aftermarket COBB or any other 3-inch downpipe, you use the 3-inch gasket. We're going to put the mid pipe into place by putting it on the rear hanger. Install the retaining nuts on the front. Let's get them hand tight for now. With that in place, we're going to reinstall the brace. Just give us a little more support so the exhaust doesn't fall. The next part's probably the trickiest part, and that is getting the pipe over the axle. It is difficult to get it lined up and get it into the insulator. It can be done, just take your time, you can get it over there. The part with the weld here is the back, so this is the part that goes over. You might find it easier to take the hanger off and put it on the pipe first to get the rear one on. Now we're going to connect the front pipe to our over the axle pipe, installing hardware and a gasket. And get that hand tight as well and move on to the tip. Start by putting it into the hanger on the passenger side. Let's get an idea where it's going to go and then grab the hardware. And we'll go back through and tighten everything down. Now let's fire it up with our COBB exhaust. The COBB's a nice step up over the stock exhaust. It has a much deeper tone. It's not loud, it's not buzzy, it's not raspy. It just has a nice tone to it. COBB exhaust would be a really good choice for somebody who wants a performance exhaust, wants a 3-inch flow, wants to add horsepower, but doesn't necessarily want a really loud system. Because driving the car, you can hear it. It's got a deeper tone than the factory. It's got a nice tone to it. It's just not overly loud. There we are, about 3,000 RPM. Now we'll get up to highway speeds. Yeah, right now around 2,000, where most mufflers are going to have a drone to it. Really almost no drone at all. You can barely hear it. If you put it under load, you get a little bit of a sound out of it, but overall you barely even notice it. to say sound-wise, it's probably kind of similar to the MBRP sound, just not as much. The MBRP had a nice deep tone, but it was on the louder side. This has the same kind of deep tone to it, just not overly loud. This system is going to be perfect when paired up with COBB's downpipe, because the downpipe always adds a little more volume to the system. And a couple installs we've done by adding a downpipe, it actually got almost too loud. I think in the case of this, it's going to give it a perfect tone. As I said, I love the sound of it. It's just not a very loud system. I want to call it more of an adult sound, but it's not that ricey, high-pitched turbo sound a lot of the systems make. This has a nice, clean, deep tone to it. Open throttle, it doesn't change pitch either. It doesn't get raspy, it doesn't get tinny at all. It just keeps the same tone throughout the RPM band.